conversations here when Rhinestone is apparently not here. So how is it? How is it both our problems?
I'm here. I'm just recording some stuff.
Oh, you like your video game?
Yeah.
What are you playing, Ryan?
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. It's a very fancy thing.
It's a millennial thing, not a boomer thing.
It's a Rhinestone thing. You just won't get it because you need an IQ of 186,000.
Yeah, you won't get it.
Yeah, got my mug.
Hey, Aaron, since Ryan is here, we need to have a little intermission because I found something out today.
Intervention or intermission?
Yeah,
intervention, Ryan. Intervention. What's this about you not liking the fake boobies?
Me?
Clary, did you hear?
I like fake boobies. What are you talking about?
Ryan
doesn't. They don't feel right, and girls start treating them like designer bags. I just don't like the vibe. I don't know.
People are allowed to be wrong, Jack. It's a free country.
You know what? I'd rather natties. But if it's a choice between a girl with an A cup and fake boobs, fine.
Okay. I could live with this.
I'm not saying mac and cheese sucks. I'm just saying I prefer ice cream.
I agree. I mean, if I had to, I guess I would go natural, right? Yeah, I would prefer natural, but no, give me the tig old bitties. I don't care how.
As long as she passes the pencil test. Just saying.
The pencil test.
Like big boobs. Like there's a difference between big and firm. You also have a firm big, you know? But like she can have like an E cup, but then you can like stick your entire hand under it. It's like, I'd rather go for the firm B cup then. Know what I'm saying?
Like they protrude out?
They can't hang down enough that you can hold a pencil in there.
Bingo.
Well, like that chick I was showing on Twitter from TikTok. She was French. She put like a whole bottle of pills in there. And I was like,
whoa. Like, okay, that's new. I know they put their phone in that bra, but their medication underneath. It's like, whoa.
I'm just trying to think of the natural form of like a healthy woman's boob. Like, wouldn't most girls be able to hold a pencil? Assuming you don't have like an A cup or some, mosquito bites. But isn't there some?
The idea is you don't want them to be sagging.
Okay, all right. Well, I think a pencil is a bit much.
Well, because we're men, of course they're going to exaggerate it to make your point, sir.
Oh, okay, all right.
You mean to tell me,
Jack,
guys?
how do you got your Black Widow spider there?
Unfortunately,
show that to the camera.
I hate this thing.
Why do you have that?
Because Cappy knows I hate these things, and he took the effort to How did you do this?
So that girl was hanging above the door frame after a freeze, which I was shocked because I don't want to get bit by a Black Widow spider, but they got them out here. And this was after season, and she must have been feasting because she's huge. And I was like, where the hell did it? So there I am with chemical spray going through the house again, vacuuming up. Like I was pretty good on top of like, how did this one get here? So I knew that you hated them. And naturally, that meant I had to capture and save one for you. And I'd always been intending on putting them in resin and like sending them to the nieces because then they could take it to show and tell.
Dude, this is the most amazing story I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, well,
I appreciate you going through the effort of sending me something I hate so much.
I know, because I knew you'd hate it so much, and that makes me happy. You
know what I don't hate?
Sustains me. What's that?
This is Dutch glory.
Really? Oh, is it? Is that like at least you Dutch people got good chocolate? I'll grant you that.
Dude, their licorice sucks dick. That triple salted shit. You guys I love chewing on my shoes.
No, this is, and I wonder if Cappy can pronounce it. Pepernoten.
Pepernoten.
Oh,
pepernoten.
Well, how actually got that quite right. Pepernoten. That's not that hard.
So it's spiced biscuit. Here, I'll show you. But then in this form, covered in chocolate. And it's a Sinterklaas thing. So it's like our Santa, but he comes earlier. Black Pete. That's the one.
I know Black
Justin
Pete,
Trudeau.
That is true Dutch culture right there. But like it probably won't be celebrated in 10 years anymore. But hey, we've got spice biscuit covered in chocolate. By the way, I have a fitness channel, if you're wondering.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah, we are live. Yeah, this is how we always do. This is how we always roll. Because, old man Roll is going to get here 10 minutes late. Who knows?
Well, they're running him up a flagpole.
Well, they always are. That's part of being Rolo. He should just have that scheduled in his daily schedule.
Welcome back, Jack. It's good to see you again on Twitter. Did I give you a good send-in? Like, you walked into this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a heartfelt welcome from you. I really liked that. I read that. I'm like, oh, shucks.
I'm happy you're back, Jack. I am.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of bullshit on Twitter. And to see you on there is like one less bullshit.
Oh, that means a lot coming from you guys. Well, from Ryan, not from Cappy. I mean, he doesn't know the feeling of happiness anymore.
I don't know. It's been a long time.
Should enjoy it, man. I got the full Salmon Rushdie this week. I'm loving life.
You got the full Salmon Rushdie? What's that? You're going to read a book by him or what?
No. Don't you remember when they got the fatwa on him because he was writing about Muhammad or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Abu Americans losing his shit because Misha and I made like one joke.
About what? Salman Rushdie?
Muhammad. His first wife was an older woman, and she was wealthy. And so she loved him so much that she funded his empire or whatever.
Okay.
And I go, oh, so it's like the world's first sugar mama. And I guess there's, is
that haram or?
Apparently not.
Oh.
And so 5:30 in the morning, I get like a blast of shit in my DMs, and I'm like, holy Jesus, dude. Like, I didn't even remember what this was about. I had to go look it up. Like, that's how flippant it was. Damn it, I can't keep up with this hair.
Look at that. Fitch even
look at that,
beard.
Fitch.
Look at that, yeah.
Glorious.
He doesn't scare little children anymore.
Ooh, and the soul patch. I haven't seen those since like the 2000s. Bringing it back.
Yep. The kids saw some old photos, and I had the soul patch. So they asked what that hideous thing was, so I had to bring it back. And
you got to do it then. Yeah, if they hate it, you got to do that. Yeah.
I love
How
it.
old are your kids, Fitch?
8 and 10.
Oh yeah, that's where you just mess
So
with
much
them the
fun.
entire time. Yeah.
Yep, it's fun.
Did you ever have the frosted tips of your hair in the 2000s?
I did have blonde hair for a little bit.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I grew I had long blonde hair for a short period.
You should frost
Kurt Cobain phase.
Yeah, you should frost the tips again and say, "Hey kids, we're going back to 2001."
Dude, it's 2008. That
was
was mine. Frosted tips. Frosted tips, blue contacts,
UFC started, and
earrings.
everybody started dyeing their hair. So
yeah.
I only had blonde hair when I was like really young, and then it just darkened through the years. It's my
Naturally,
soul.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a natural blonde.
Really?
I'm technically a really dirty blonde.
I bet you are.
I'm
bet
a very,
you are.
very dirty blonde, so
Ooh.
I feel you, man. The dirtiest blonde.
Hang on.
Welcome to Rule Zero, everybody.
Wasn't that what we did anyway when we were kids? Like, you go play out in the sun all day, that you bleach out your hair anyway, and you're like super tan. Like, then that happened to every kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does get lighter. People used to put sun in or lemon juice in their hair, and then just that being in the sun would lighten it.
I think I got pictures of us from the 80s where we're like, we look like we're tan, and then we just got bright blonde hair because it was just bleached out. Man, those are good times.
We lost it to feminism too. What horse shit.
Darn feminism. Foiled again.
Do we know who is and is not showing up to this thing?
It's just like whoever comes. But I lost my daughter to feminism. I actually want to know where you came up with that title. I'm fairly curious.
Because there's a bunch of articles. Let me catch up on this. Laura 57, then $5 official pencil test. If she fully raises her arms and the pencil doesn't fall out, she fails the test. All right, that makes a little more sense, because I was about to say we're being pretty hard on women, because I think there is a little. Their boobs, they're going to droop a little bit. Even the good ones.
Well, we have the technology. They don't have to. That's the point.
All right, we'll go ahead and start, because
we have the technology. If they don't, though, then it's like fake boob thing, and the fake boob thing just reminds me of trans stuff. So
we don't do that here.
I'm kind of over that.
Speaking of strands, so let's go ahead and do this, then we can all go home and get a weekend on. So Ryan asked, like, where did I get this? I don't know if you guys have heard of a couple articles, but there was enough that it popped up, and then you start thinking about it, like, oh yeah, this is kind of been happening in the background and turning up ever since we were younger. Did you hear about that biracial girl that at her father's funeral, she just tiraded against him being a racist and a Trump supporter and all that?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That
it all comes down to the same thing. The guy we watched, the guy flip out and flip the Thanksgiving table over.
Oh yeah,
right?
that one was awesome.
Sad guy. All these kids making, whatever. It all stems from the exact same place. Parents do not communicate to their children that they give a damn about them.
Okay.
They care more about their job. They care more about money and having things than they do about spending time with their children. Actually spending time with their children. You go on vacation and you don't spend time with, you put them in the day, the kids care. So they play with other kids the whole time and you don't have to fucking see them or take care of them. You have nannies, you have somebody babysitting. You're never spending time with them. Like the parents today, that's been happening for a while and it's getting worse, is like the parents hate their children. It's like, why do you even have the kids? You don't even spend time with them. Right. Oh, I work extra hours so I can have more money to send them to this private extra school and they can stay late until 6 p.m. and then the nanny will pick them up and then I'll kiss them when they're in bed. Good night. But they called the nanny mama. The kid doesn't speak English. He speaks Spanish. Like the nanny speaks to him in Spanish all the time. It's the same shit. And then I watched two women have the podcast or whatever talking. They're like, oh, we're having prayers with the kids, and the kids are like, oh, I pray that mommy doesn't have to work anymore because the kid is so starving for attention. Oh. And then they go into like ranting on the kid and like, oh, well, I just think they're trying to make us feel guilty. And they're like, yeah, fuck that kid. Like, it's like, no, you're the problem. You're the problem. Spend some fucking time with your kids. Just
fuck them kids.
Watch the movie with them. Sit down with them. Play the fucking game. So
good night, everybody. All right, we solved that problem.
I wonder why the kids are so messed up today. I wonder.
Well, and see, I that has been a running theme, like where the parents have had no investment in the children. Many years ago, I calculated your teachers are going to spend 3 times the amount with your children than you are. Teachers. But this is I agree with Fitch. It hails from the same problem, but this is kind of starting to take on its own unique thing. It's becoming even more extreme. So here you have, it's one thing for your kids to strike out. Here you have a full-grown adult child using her father's funeral as an opportunity to promote leftist politics and racial politics and all. By the way, she was biracial as well. I think the mother was black.
Doing it to get attention. She doesn't.
Well, right. But hang on. Yeah, no, I know. But let me paint this because this is a trend now here that's happening. Did you guys hear about the gal that had to get deprogrammed? Her parents paid a deprogrammer to deprogram her from attending Holyoke College.
What's Holyoke College?
Holyoke is a liberal arts college over in the east of the Mississippi, where all the morons in the country live. And she went there, and then her parents ended up paying, legit paid like $300 an hour to have someone come in and professionally deprogram her. And then she's been interviewed on Fox News or whatever because she had and no one heard about this?
No.
I've not heard about it. No.
Last I heard about this was when they were trying to deprogram the gay out of kids. I didn't realize they're doing the other thing now.
Well, right. Right. And then this is anecdotal, but I know a friend of the family, let's just say. Same thing. The guy, white man, married a black woman, has 2 daughters, biracial. Daughters go off to college. Guess what? They come back, and guess what? He's the white devil. It's like, you're half white, you 2 freaking morons. But they went off to college, and they came back, and now their politics are there. And then perhaps the most extreme, have any of you been paying attention to this popularity of gender reassignment surgery or top surgery?
You can't avoid it, man, if you're on Twitter.
Well, no, admittedly, the internet's going to focus on the train wrecks. But you see, if you go out there and you start searching around, this is a groundswell, I would guess to say. Like, we're starting to see the beginning of it. It's starting to become a fad or a popularity trend. And again, there are some boys who approach this, but this is predominantly young women.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, it has, I'm kind of wondering, what the hell does this have in terms of effect for family, guys who may want to raise their children, people, if you're a dad, and heaven help you if you have a daughter, because I have a feeling this is going to be a very real problem men face. So I'd like to tackle this topic and kind of get all of us who don't have, well, Fitch, you got a daughter or no?
No daughters, 2 sons.
Look at you all virile.
You know, I was going to get Pop in on this because he does have daughters, but he was busy.
Yeah, that's a difficult one because you're gonna be a monster. You're telling them the truth, and like, really, I mean, the only thing you can do, I think, is lead and show, demonstrate. I don't think you can sit down and have sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk with your daughter about this stuff. I think you just have to like lead your baby mama in the right way and spend time, actually put in time, let them know that you care because you're there.
So you would say, go ahead,
Aaron.
I was just going to say, so you would say it's just not participating in your show, which I agree with.
It's a huge thing because you're not around. They don't get to see you. They don't get to see you operate. They don't get to see you do things and accomplish things and fail. And, your kids should see you fail and how you react to the failure. And all that stuff is important.
Yeah, like I'm with Fitch on this. I was thinking about this. Everybody always treats kids like you can just manipulate anybody. They're just blank slates. You can fill their head with whatever and they'll do whatever you think. I'm like, these are young adults. They're not stupid. And if this is the best option for them, not one person has asked, well, what's the alternative? Like John was saying with the parents, or just if your dad is such a piece of shit that like, oh, gender reassignment surgery and stuff sounds better. Maybe there's some like internal self-assessment that needs to happen among the parenting types. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. The kids
like Rollo,
they get no attention. They get no like pats on the head. They get no cookies for good behavior or anything. It's just the parents are just kind of there and ignore them. And then when they finally get to be around other people, then they get all this attention. Like, oh my God, you're so beautiful and strong. Cut your tits off. And then they think it's a great idea.
Legit. No doubt. But that's what I'm asked, because I think Ryan kind of hit it, is there's like power vacuums. Like there has to be a leader. It's not like someone just chooses, but if there is no obvious leader, someone's going to be pulled into it. And I'm wondering, have fathers failed their daughters so much? Because I am going to lay this down at the responsibility of the fathers. You do have a responsibility to lead and guide your family. I don't care about the excuses. We'll get to the excuses later. But if you do not paint a picture, a point, a purpose in life to your children, but specifically your daughters, there is now a purpose or an agency vacuum, and that will be gladly filled in with your teachers and especially when you get on to college. My question is, are men failing that much of their children, particularly their daughters, to paint some kind of point and purpose and reason in life, that if they just go off to college, their brains can be filled with anything?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. And I don't like.
Who's gonna take?
Well, it's just that nobody seems to have any self-awareness. They're not actually treating this as a real problem. It's not even their kids. Like, as much as that kid going to the funeral and like, my dad was a white male, what the fuck? The parents are just treating this as like their own Fox News talking point. See what the damn liberals are doing? It's like, dude, that's your fucking kids. What are you doing? But they don't seem to care, other than like the points they can make in their little social circles. And I don't know why Americans, have you guys always been this political, or is it once you all stopped watching football, you decide like everything went to hell?
No, it started. This stuff started around like 2010, whatever. All the fallout. You had the 9/11, the wars, the financial crisis, the bailouts, and then the whole, what was the New York Stock Exchange, the Occupy Wall Street?
Wall Street.
I think when that was like a catalyst to the wokeism started out a little bit, because you had the Edward Snowden revelations. You had the other guy who turned into a girl who had some whatever insider whistleblowing stuff going on, and then it snowballed into this chaos.
I'm just wondering. I would have to interview each father and figure it out, but I am fully
I know what
aware
you're going to say.
Well, but
spending time with your kids doesn't pay the bills,
right? No,
because I get the same pushback on Twitter when I mention something about putting in time with your kids instead of making money.
Yeah, but isn't this a maxim Clary always used to say, like, don't stop having kids you can't afford? I mean, John brought up a good point in the beginning, and Clary has said this a dozen times. A lot of people have kids as a check mark. They don't have kids for the name and for the family and because they want to love somebody and things like that. No,
I think it would be fun to do. I thought having kids would be a blast. It is.
But it's like, it's for the girl they're with to say to her friends, "Oh, look, I got a kid. Oh, where is he? Oh, he's at daycare, but I do have him.
Yep.
Look, the mark is checked."
Could we also then say that along with these, now this would be you're coming from a broken home or where the father is just completely fucking ballless or absent, where the mom puts on the bumper sticker that I have a special needs child who has autism or autism awareness and all that. And now, because I mean, what is the average age of an adult for a teenage girl? Probably be in their 40s or 50s. This is kind of our age. So this is going to be our generation of laughable jokes of adults and parents. That they would actually take pride in the fact that their kid got gender reassignment surgery or that their daughter is a feminist. I'm wondering, because the dads are there because they had the kid. All right. And I'm aware that either through divorce or the power of the courts that the dad may be completely removed and neutered from this situation. So I could see that. But then when there is a dad present, he's still not participating at all, providing any kind of leadership or guidance. And now, like I said before, there's this vacuum that comes in, and now the teachers are only more than happy to come in and lead that. So are these kids just effed? Is this just kind of, that's it? No dads are participating? Or do we have these guys like coming in saying, "Oh, I tried, but you don't understand the infrastructure of the schools"?
It's the father's fault. It's the father's fault, and you're being pussies. If your dad's out there and you are failing, you're pussies. Okay, because I went through this shit where I had somebody who was like, "No, we got to put him in daycare or whatever." Like, you're at home, you're not fucking doing anything. Why we have to put him in daycare? Oh no, we have to spend $20,000 a year per kid in his fucking daycare. Stupid. I fought back. I said no. I took the kids to work with me. I took them to training. They sat there in the gym.
Kids to the octagon.
I had to stop in between rounds to change diapers and take kids to shit in the bathroom. Like, I made that effort. I made that exercise part of what was going to happen, because the other option was I abandoned my kids. I focus only on fighting and work. My career probably would have done much better, but like, I wasn't doing that to my kids. I wasn't abandoning my kids and putting them in daycare with people I don't know. And I'm going to work extra hours and spend extra money to do it. I wasn't doing it. So I was like, all right, you know what? They're coming to the gym with me. I'm taking them to the gym with me. We'll figure it out there. They can play with the pads and build forts. That's way more better for their development than having some person ignore them or get beat up by some other kids or some other crap that you're trying to excuse. It's not cool. Just spend time with your kids. Make a move to a different state, move to a different country. I don't care. Like, prioritize your freaking children, because the rest of us are the ones who suffer for your retards going crazy and cutting shit off.
Yep. We get to pay for them. But it's funny you mentioned that, Fitch. Like, I have one friend who has married, has 2 kids. I always call him my tradcon friend. And even though like he's you can stand him, sort of say. He's not really tradcon. But I asked him, because he knows what I do online, and I asked him, like, yeah, the topic tonight is like losing my daughter to feminism. And he actually has a daughter. And I'm like, what would you like to hear if you were to listen to that? He's like, well, the thing is, like, because he knows what's going on, he's like, as a father, I just think you need to be present. Like, I want to be involved at school, where it's like, how do you call that? The teacher counselor meeting, things like that. Like, get involved in your kid's school. Get to know the teachers, know what the curriculum is. Just be present, spend time with them, like John Fitz says. So he, as a dad, just had the same train of thought, where it's like, no, you need to bring them up with certain values and just watch them like a hawk when you send them to public school. You just need to do that. We now know what's going on in the school. Yeah, just do homeschooling. But in the Netherlands, it's practically impossible.
Homeschooling or private if you can afford it.
But in the Netherlands, that's kind of, like I said, it's practically impossible. Though they could go the route of certain religion, where it's like, yeah, we can't find a school because of our religion. It could go that route, but even then, they will make you jump all sorts of hurdles. So
wonder.
It goes deep. Like, you have to go through their homework, do the homework with them, read the books with them. Like, there was some man, like the kids were reading something about some discoverer who started, a church or something like that in California, and then like they had a brief paragraph about like the local tribes or whatever, and like, oh, the local tribes lived here in peace until the whatever the church people came, and I was like, wait a minute, I was like, that doesn't sound very truthful. So like, I made the kid. We Google it up and we looked, whatever, like, oh yeah, and they were warring, they were killing each other. There's baby sacrifices in this group, like, because the book wasn't going to be like realistic and say what actually happened. It was some kind of like pandering bullcrap about, oh, everything was peaceful and everybody loved everybody before the white guy came to California. It was like, no,
yeah, like Indians always loved each
other.
To,
like, show them the actual history, because they're gonna give it some kind of liberal washing at the school. So you gotta watch that stuff. My youngest had a book that they had to read that was about like how the evil humans on this, or the evil people on this one planet, like polluted the whole planet and it was dying. And I just had to like fact check it. Like fact check your kids' homework so they don't get brainwashed.
I wonder how much of this there's overlapped with parental alienation.
What is that like is that a psychological condition?
Yeah, well, during a divorce, what happens is, like, obviously we know the stats. Moms are getting the kids more often than not. We can argue about the reasons, doesn't really matter. And then mom, because she hates her bullshit ex-husband, constantly berates him, constantly talks about him. Rollo's article about promise keepers is largely from that, where guys are, I'm never going to act like my asshole father. And then they act like beta males and they don't get laid now. But for women, same thing. So they essentially, it's just weaponizing your hatred for the kid's father, so the kid ends up raising with daddy issues. Now, I don't know. It's probably a lot of it's mostly just absent parents doing latchkey kid shit.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if you found I wouldn't be surprised if the most extreme examples were tied to parental alienation.
I think it's a combo. It's a 1-2 punch, because you get the parental alienation and you talk smack about one of them the whole time. If they actually spend time, if they still spend 50% of their time with them, they're going to notice like, mom's full of shit.
Well, if mom just likes to run her mouth. Out of state and the dad can't get there. Now
if you get the situation where the kid can't actually be around the person at all, then I definitely see that playing a big
to the
role.
extent that's true, then there's nothing we can do, and this is just a cost of doing business. I call it thoughtrazone. Ask your doctor if thotrazone's right for you.
Thougrazone?
Yeah, it's like the female imperative, but I'm like, let's make it some kind of pharmaceutical drug, because those have such a great track record of health. Yeah.
So I wrote a book about this, all of this. It was my third book, Positive Masculinity. One of the reasons I even launched into the third book was because I had so many guys saying, Rollo, when is the best time to give your book to my teenage son? I don't want him to repeat the same mistakes I made when I was 15, 18, whatever. And about the first, Jack's got it right there. About the first like 2/3 of that book is dedicated to red pill parenting. And as John Fitch was saying, I noticed this as far back as like 2016 when I first started writing the book, is that you have to, like, most guys have to be aware of what's going on with their kids in the first place and what they're getting into and what they're up against. So the standard, solution to that is, oh, well, just homeschool your kids. Well, yeah, I understand that impetus. And I used to be really against homeschooling, simply because it was more of like a pragmatic, practical, the aspects of it. But now I kind of understand it. I kind of get it. Right. So but I don't think most adult humans are cut out for being like the teacher of their kids. Because remember, it's not so much like about like people say, well, what about their socialization? The socialization's like probably the least amount of your concerns when it comes to
socialization is not excluded to education.
I was going to say that's if you're going to homeschool your kids, that should be the least of your concerns. I mean, it's a concern, but that should be at the bottom of the list. The real one is can you do it? Can you stick with it? Can you keep going with it? Are you disciplined enough as an adult human? Does your job allow for that? Does your lifestyle allow for that? Are you even capable? Like, is that something that did you want to be a grammar school teacher when you were a kid kind of thing? And so I think that those are some questions that's really where you need to begin when it comes to like homeschooling your kids. But my greater concern, actually, the focus of that book was like people kept saying, well, I don't want my daughter I want to keep my baby off the pole, right? I don't want her to go and become some rabid, Lena Dunham looking, feminist. She goes into at 18, she looks like she's a sweet, virginic, like little Bible study girl. And then she comes out 4 years later and she's like, smash the patriarchy. And her hair's like fuchsia and, underarm pits or whatever. But I think we have that kind of impression that if we send our kids to a major university, that it's an indoctrination camp. It's largely, I can understand why that impression is still there. However, you also have to remember that look at the enrollment rates for females versus males in major universities. Look at graduation rates right after that, as soon as you look at that stat, and look at the ease with which we give young women grants and scholarships and Title IX and God knows what else, all this special dispensation to get them into college in the first place. We try to, granted, you're taking on debt, as Cappy will no doubt point out to us, but the long and the short of it is we make it easier for girls to go to school than we do for boys. There's a barrier for entry that boys have when it comes to university that women do not have. So we have to take that into consideration if you're going to sort of, be a quote unquote red pill parent, because if you're dealing with sons, you're dealing with something different than you will be with your daughters. Your kids will be raised by pop culture. Your kids will be raised by their teachers. Your kids will be raised by your wife, you, and maybe your stepwife, her stepmother, whatever it is, or maybe her stepfather as well, depending on what your level of involvement is and all that. These are factors that guys need to take into consideration. So when guys hit me up and they go, Rollo, I want to be a single dad. Tell me about exogenesis or tell me about birthing pods or something. I'm like, dude, what? Seriously. Or I want to hire a surrogate so that I can have I want to be a single dad. I want to be a parent, but I don't want a wife kind of thing. And I'll tell them the same thing I tell single females, as single women, mothers, is that is you're essentially hobbling that child. You're cutting off one leg for that kid, because that kid needs both a male and female, conventionally masculine, conventionally feminine model to sort of base its understanding on what gender really is about. And again, you'll find that in the book there. But I think as far as like raising daughters, you're running into a much different situation than you are if you're raising sons. The other part is this, and getting back to sort of John Fitch's point here, is that one of the things that we do right now, and you will find out as soon as the Dr. Phil show drops, you will understand why I'm emphasizing the word superfluous these days, because that was one point that I made, is that we tend to view men, fathers in particular, but we view men as superfluous. I don't need a man, but I want a man. Now, carry that dynamic over into parenting. He's nice to have around, but he's not absolutely necessary. We only keep him around because he can, the provisioning and protection kind of thing, or the provisioning side of things is key. But we don't really need a father around, because a single mom can do it all, right? She's just as good as anything. She's just as good a father as she is a mother. And I think there's this superhero mentality that we have that is expressed in certainly our divorce laws, our child support laws, our custody laws. If you look at how we prioritize women when it comes to who gets to have the kid, in that situation, we automatically presume that it is the feminine and that it is the mother that is going to be the most beneficial. But statistically, if you go and you read a book like, The Boy Crisis, Dr. Warren Farrell, men, single fathers, raise better kids than single mothers. It is right there, empirical data. You cannot refute that. That's the best thing about Dr. Warren. I got my problems with Dr. Farrell. But one thing he is not inaccurate when it comes to his statistics. He is a consummate statistician. So when I read this kind of stuff and you point this out, women lose their fucking minds, because the popular narrative is that men don't care. Men fuck them, get them impregnated, and then they leave. And that's the popular opinion. When if you go and you look at the statistics, particularly for black men in the black communities who are black fathers, they are not married to the baby mama, but they are much more involved with their children's upbringings than they have ever been historically, certainly since the sexual revolution right now. But we don't count that because they're not married. So if mom and dad don't have that contract, that unconscionable contract between the two of them, then we say the father is absent. We say he's not involved. He's not raising the kid. There's no matrimony there, right? And so when we look at our stats and we say, well, where's the father? Right, when the kid becomes a criminal, when the kid is a drug dealer, or has a drug addiction, or the kid is suicidal, or the kid is in jail for some reason, we don't go, where's the single mommy? She's supposed to be able to do it all. Where was she in all of this? We say one thing: where's the dad? So men and fathers are superfluous right up until the point where the kid becomes a criminal, and then we go and we look for the dad, because he's the one who should have been involved in all of this. And I'm not saying he isn't, but the problem is that we conflate that father's influence in that child's life with the fact that whether he's married to his mom or he's not. And I think that should be the first place that we start if we're going to reassess the situation of involved fathers versus uninvolved fathers. They don't necessarily have to be married to the baby mama to be an involved father. When you look at the statistics of the guys who are actually involved and want to take place and want to be an active part of their kids, then the numbers go way up from there. But that doesn't play in a gynocentric social order that is the United States, particularly this last year, which is the year of the woman. So we go and we point all that shit out. So I think really what we have to do is you have to start and change the fucking conversation and say, look, it's not about like a marriage rates. It's about involved fathers rates. And when you start looking at that, then you'll realize that it's not such a bleak situation as everyone wants to point it out. But then how do you do that when you go and you look at, say, someone like, Riley Reid or Lana Rhodes or Mia Khalifa or whatever the next porn star is who has daddy issues? Right. We'll go, oh, well, it's a failure of the father. No, it's a failure of a gynocentric social order that removes the man from the family, from the child custody, from everything except for we go and we don't have to pay child support. So I'm going to quote Dalrock here really quickly. We have moved from a marriage-based model of child rearing to a child support based model of child rearing. So it's not about how involved the father is or the matrimony so much as it is that guy is making his daily payments or monthly payments to make sure that kid is funded. So again, that goes back to the same narrative. I don't need a man, but I want a man. They need that guy's money. They need that support. They're happy to have that. They're happy to have the child when the guy looks like he would be a good bet for a financial future for both her and her kids. And if you can say, hey, you can be divorced, he's going to pay all the bills, and you can go and fuck anybody that you can meet on Instagram, that seems like a way better deal than having to deal with one guy all the time and you not getting your attention, your attention needs met on top of that. So you've got a generation of mothers who were raised in this same gynocentric social order that are raising their kids to be the same people that they are right now.
Well, you got a lot of women like being raised up with the thought of like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you.
You're clipping.
Me.
Yeah, your audio. Was it
yeah,
just
you're
me?
coming in hot.
You're overmodulating, my friend.
Oh. How do I fix that?
Just turn the volume down just a touch.
Well, you deal with your tech issues.
Okay, now
well, let me
better.
Yeah, that's better. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is that you get a lot of women being raised up with it doesn't matter who you sleep with, it doesn't matter how many you sleep with, and then they end up with one guy, get his kid, and then they want to go back to where they were. And then you get to the question, how do we solve that whole thing? As we mentioned before, get involved in schools and things like that. As a dad, knowing all this, don't you kind of have the job to do to tell your daughter very blatantly, honey, when she's old enough, of course, you tell her this, your sexuality and youth is the thing men want. Use it wisely, kind of thing, instead of scattering it around, because then you're going to run into these problems and you're going to end up like one of these Mila Khalifa girls being like, oh, men only want the younger girls and blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe if you had invested into one guy instead of 100, you might not be in this situation. And I know it's kind of like asking the impossible here, but know what I'm saying?
Well, let me introduce another. Let me introduce because let's say you do have a participatory father, regardless of whether divorced or not. The dad is there, but what Roll was pointing out is where we have a gynocracy or a gynocentric order society. The guys may just be simply outgunned. where okay, you get married, you have full intention, you're going to invest in your daughters, but now you only have your daughters half time through custody, or a fraction of that.
Or
then also
they're married and in the same house, but they're still leaning soy.
Right.
So you're time, but they're still kind of soy.
In other words, the father could be putting in as much effort as he can, but they're not raised just with dad. They got school, they got society, they got media, they got their moms. And I'm wondering if men are just, you're just outgunned in terms of sheer propaganda. I've talked about before, like you're not spending anywhere near the amount of time that the rest of society is spending with them. And what that scares me is because we put such an emphasis on women. Women don't need men anymore. They got the welfare state. They got white collar work. They could do all that. And so what I'm fearing is that even if the father is present, this is going to be an increasing trend where daddy's little girl, you may not even get to daddy's little girl where she puts on a little dress, has her pigtails and says, I love you, daddy, and gives you a hug. I mean, maybe that happens up until 10 or something. But once they hit the teens or the tweens or something, already beforehand, you had a rebellious teenager. That's I think, programmed in human nature. But now I think once they hit middle school and the hormones kick in, you're going to have to be a super father to go and make sure that your daughter doesn't start cutting her hair off, tatting up her face and all that. In other words, with nothing to stop it, and with the influence being so lopsided and it being pro-female and female now being defined by other women with absolutely no context in relation to men or what society might want. I mean, really, it's a scary thought that in the future, they're all going to be like this.
Can I add a little bit of, go ahead, John, I'll come in after you.
Well, it's something that I take care and time and effort to teach my sons is it's okay if people don't like you. It's okay if you don't fit in. Seriously, I'm like watching, hey,
hey, look at your dad. Nobody likes him. See,
and I'll refer to it. I'll be like, you know what? You guys don't have to follow this. You don't have to believe this. I don't care. You don't have to do what I do, but it's okay not to support this. It's okay not to think this thing is cool. It's okay to think these people are losers. You can choose to do what you want. You don't have to go with the group. You don't have to go with the crowd just to fit in. It's okay. And I think that helps them out a lot because one, I tell them the truth. Like if they want to put on something stupid that looks dumb, I'll tell them, I love you, but that doesn't look very good. That outfit doesn't look good. Right? I'll tell them. If I have a daughter, she does something stupid, I'm going to tell her, I love you, but like that's really stupid. Your hair looks dumb. You shouldn't have done that to your hair. You were much prettier before. Right. Yeah, you have to be honest. Be okay with upsetting people. Be okay with being the outsider. Be okay with not fitting into the group. Because I tell my sons all the time, your average person, right? Average person is dumb. The average person is dumb. When you have that little graph chart, like the one on the top, the most average is dumb. So when something's popular, that means a lot of dumb people like it. So don't be swayed by popularity.
I was going to say the other part to the other element to this is that in a gynocentric social order, we have always done this. We hold our boys up to a different standard than we do to our girls. So like just in general, because I think on some level of consciousness, like most fathers, I mean, with a healthy amount of testosterone in their bloodstream, most fathers realize that they understand a man's burden of performance, and so therefore they understand that a man must become and women just are. And I think that part of that can sort of be relayed in just how we tend to pick up female, little baby girls more than we pick up baby boys, right? We want the boy to be independent. We want to smack him around. Okay, get up from that, Johnny. Yeah, that kind of thing. There's that mentality anyways, although that's frowned upon right now because we want to call that bullying, or we want to call that hazing, or we want, in a more gynocentric way of organizing society, anything that is like masculine, particularly that is like uniquely masculine from father to son, is shit upon. Unless it is it's only celebrated, by the way, when the father is acting as if he's feminine in some way, where he's teaching his son how to act more emotionally available or vulnerable or whatever else, or he's wearing a tutu and singing his theme song from Frozen. Then we will go and we'll celebrate that. But we will not celebrate when that guy says, you know what, you got kicked in the teeth in the baseball game, or you got kicked in the teeth in whatever competition you were in. get yourself up, dust yourself off, get back at it again, and figure out what you did wrong, and then come back and kick ass on the next time. We don't celebrate that. We don't say, oh, we're gonna build that boy up. Here's a father who's actually making a positive impact on his son. We don't want to see that, because we want to say that father is not training that boy to be more like a girl, and so therefore he's toxically masculine. Hell, even the American Psychological Association would classify that traditional masculinity as a personality disorder. So when we live in a society where we look at anything that is critical of girls as being judgmental, or let her do her own thing, she'll figure it out on her own, you stop being an oppressive patriarchal father. And then in the same breath, we'll go and we'll say, stop telling your son to be to toughen, to do fucking better, to toughen up. Start telling him to be more emotionally soft and and vulnerable, and all the standard pablum, the standard bullshit. And when you're in that society, that's when you get things like Tinder swindler. Right? You got these girls who are like in their mid 30s. Suddenly they meet this guy who's in by all senses very predatory. And when I watched that, my first instinct was, where's the dad? Where's the cousin? Where's the uncle? Where's the brother to step in and say, no, bitch, you're not getting on that private plane to go to Belarus or where the fuck you went, and you're not taking out one bank loan, much less 9 bank loans for this. Had there been an involved father, had there been an involved uncle, there would be no documentary, because somebody would have stepped in. And I think that kind of gets back to John Fitch's point, is you have to dare to be fucking like intolerant. You have to dare to be more judgmental. Yep. You have to dare to do stuff like that, because if you don't, then your daughter gets to be 35, 36 years old, and she's like, her face is all over the Tinder swindler, and she's trying to do a Kickstarter to make up for the $250,000 in loans she took out to give to this guy, legally, by the way. And so when you see stuff like that, it's not just about like, oh, well, she's a stripper, she's a porn star. There's much more devastating, I think, downstream effects of a guy, father, uncle, brother, cousin, nephew, whatever it is, that doesn't step up and say, no, sis, you're not going out there and doing that. No, niece, you're not going to fucking do that. I'm going to step in here, and I know I'm going to seem like some chauvinist pig by doing this, but I'm going to save you from yourself in this sense.
And that's what I meant.
To do that is probably one of those most evil, most like antithetical to the gynocentric social order thing that you could possibly do.
Yep.
And that's what I meant to say. Like, as a guy, when you know all this, you should like tell your daughter that, or your niece or cousin, whatever. Tell her like these actions have consequences, and you're probably going to end up here. So no, we're not going to do that. You will not do that. And probably as a dad, you're going to get shunned by a lot of people, her friends probably, or her peers, whatever. Yeah, but you need to stand. You need to keep your foot down. And Rolo, by the way, speaking of dads being celebrated, did you see the coal miner?
Mm-mm.
The guy who
link up in the private chat. I'll go look at him.
Yeah, that's a pretty dope story, actually. The guy just came off work as a coal miner to visit his son's first basketball game.
What was that? That he got off his shift and watched his son's basketball game?
Oh yeah, they gave him like season tickets for that one because they thought it was so cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, like he sits there covered in dirt, still in his work outfit. I put the link up in the private chat.
See it? Yeah, I see it now.
So then a question I guess I would have then, if we're going to be so anti-male, don't even there is now I even read a couple articles where Child Protective Services were called in, where if we move on to gender reassignment surgery, where parents are trying to talk to their daughters predominantly, where the daughter says, well, I'm identifying as this, I want to go by these pronouns. And they try to intervene. These kids are now calling Child Protective Services on them. And there is a backlash when you try to put in any kind of fatherly discipline, where they say, okay, yeah, the child's a little bit young for top surgery, but you really ought to use her pronouns or her new pronouns. So there is huge pressure socially. You're called a misogynist. You're called a tyrant, da-da-da-da-da. I think there's also a lot of weak fathers out there that just want to do hands off and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Is there going to be anything to prevent these women from being taken advantage of? Because if you look going forward, first thing, Ro, you said it before, the first thing these girls do out of school or out of high school is they go into debt for a worthless joke of a degree. Yep. Then you get, now they're in the clutches. I'll call it as it is. There's the education is merely a facade for most of these degrees. These are Marxist, anti-American, anti-male, hate-filled people posed as professors who want future voters and future leftists. That's all they want. And they also, I think there's a genuine misandry and actual hatred of men, especially within women's studies departments and gender type of departments, where they get these new girls coming in, not only because they get their tuition money, but because they want to create, I don't know, it's really weird. It's like they want to turn them all into zombies. Like, we must feed on brains, we must convert, we must bite them and turn them into one. I was like the Borg almost.
One of us.
Exactly. And now these girls are kind of ruined. And then going down into the future, I mean, think about how, okay, fine, you know, the gynocentric order wins. You win. But what? All these gals do end up going into debt for regular degrees, advanced degrees. Then they go work. Then they go pay their taxes. And then by the time they're in their 60s, they're a used husk, and it's complete. And there is an actual victim, but it's the girls themselves. And then heaven help you if you're a 13, 14-year-old girl and you have your tits cut off because you wanted to be popular and your dad wasn't around, or society kind of skid the paths for you, slick the skids for you on that. Is there anything that we can do? Or is it kind of like, you know, all right, you either get a good father and you're one of the lucky ones, and then we just kind of, that's it? Or is it just going to be something going on in the future where, more girls are going to be hoodwinked and been taken advantage of and become victims?
Well, dude,
probably.
Honestly, it will. Remember in like the 90s and the early 2000s when everybody was talking about safe spaces and all that, we were always like, oh man, when these kids get into the real world, they'll learn what it's really like. And we always had this revenge fantasy of them getting there and having a hard comeuppance. And then it turned out they all just basically run HR now. And now like the political theater is all about it. There's essentially enough of them that it completely shifted the Overton window to that's normal. This is what's going to happen here. Like, don't kid yourself. This is not something we can like pull us up by our bootstraps and fix. It's here. It's not going away. And when these people hit their 30s and 40s in 10 or 20 years, they're the ones going to be running shit. So I would say the only thing you can find and do that's probably useful is to think, how do you thrive in an environment when these kind of people are the ones that are making decisions that matter? And if you can figure that out, sure. Can you save them though? No.
Nah. And you can even see Overton's window.
You can't save other people.
Yeah. You can even see Overton's window.
You're not going to bring society back. You're not going to win the West. You're not going to, start building cathedrals and shit.
All you can do is become the next version of the trads that we make fun of today. That
you can just hold your own, have your own good life, because if you're holding your frame, you got a woman who's going to be on your program anyways. And then you're going to be two of you with that kid and your kids doing the things that need to be done. And you can only save your own world. You can't save the whole world.
And don't get me wrong, if you're dating that girl, you can fix her too. Remember Lacey Green, that feminist in the 2000s? I love her as an example. Soon as she got a good boyfriend, she fucking ditched all that feminist shit. She was like the Toy Story meme, like, I don't need you anymore. And she's talking about red pills and like MRA talking points. A good
Who was the guy
save
again?
One girl. I don't even remember. Who cares?
Chris Reagan?
Yeah,
something like
that was the one.
Wasn't that him? Something like that.
So yeah, if you you can save one girl at a time, and then if you got her on your side, like same way as like Rolo's girl becomes a San Francisco 49ers fan now that he likes it, she'll like you, and then you guys will raise kids, and then there's a better chance of her deferring to you. It really just boils down to not being a piece of shit and having your life together and having good game.
Well,
I mean, those who want in your life will be good at it.
We have this misunderstanding that I
oh, sorry, Raiders. I meant the Raiders.
Well, okay, either one is fine.
They'll listen to Swedish death metal together.
Yes. Are you listening to Ice Earth? Are you listening to Behemoth?
That's the measurement, people.
Well, I mean, so and I would be remiss if I didn't make this comparison at some point along the way. But like, people think that I got a hard on for fucking Michaela Peterson. I really don't. I think I would like to set the record straight with that with that person. I think she's a bad mother. I think she has decided that she doesn't want to be a mother. Clearly, she's for really since about like March or April of this year, she's been trying to outsource motherhood and trying to explain away why she is doing so and why we shouldn't be judgmental of her. While her father for the last, 6-7 years has been talking about how being a careerist woman and how being a mother are incompatible with one another. And yet people still want to give her a free pass, or they want to say, Rollo's just obsessed. Fuck him. It's like, okay, well, fine.
Great case study.
Fine, that's fine. Do what fangirl all you want, fanboy all you want. That's fine. All I'm doing is pointing out the inconsistencies, and I hold up a mirror, and you can decide to look into it or not. But I will tell you this: if I ever go on Valuetainment and do some sort of talk or some back and forth with her, which has been discussed, by the way, that'll be the first thing out of my mouth. That'd be exactly the first thing out of my mouth. You are a bad fucking mother, and you're all about.
I want to see that.
Dude, choose violence today.
I will build a statue in your honor.
Oh, that'll be the first thing out of. That's why I don't think it'll ever happen, because she knows I'll take her to the fucking woodshed if that's the case. But the long and the short of that is that I think that what's even more damaging than this idea that, girls are going to go to college and they're going to turn into feminists that come out. The problem is that we sell women on this idea that they can have it all. And sometimes, well, actually, most of the time, having it all is don't worry about the judgmentalism. Nobody can say shit about you. You live your own truth, right? And so maybe your truth is to be a single mommy and to still, try to have a podcast or be an influencer or do whatever the fuck else it is that you're doing, anything else except for actually being a mother to your children. We don't point that out. When that kid becomes sort of a criminal, we don't go to single mommy after mommy's been trying to, develop her influencer brand on TikTok or or Instagram. When that kid becomes, suicidal or ends up in jail, we say, where's the father? Well, mom's sort of ass out. And then, of course, what we do is we say, well, it's the father's responsibility. Again, that comes back to responsibility and authority. And if you want a shining example of when I say men don't have the authority to affect that responsibility, this is it right here. So just what Aaron was just saying a moment ago, most guys, most children who are going through the gender reassignment surgeries, let's just say, are the products of single mothers, or the father is either cucked or beta, blue pill beta, uninvolved father, or he's been removed from the home. And so mom gets to decide. And so when we look at a gynocentric social order where we're organizing a society that prioritizes whatever the latest, madness of women is it any shock that we have people who are ready to go and do the most brutal surgeries because we think that that's going to be the right thing to do, because we don't want, we want to believe in social constructionism. We want to believe in the emotionalism. We want to believe in the blank slate, all of which are reinforcers of a female gynocentric social dynamic. So how are we surprised that this is the next step? And by the way, it won't be the last step. Now, more to your point, Cappy, is there a solution to all of this? Like, how do we get out of this? Well, and men need to step up and man up and go and take the reins of power. Yeah, I would agree. There's two solutions, and both of them kind of like look like war to me.
Yeah.
One of them is, well, the asteroid hits or the hurricane hits or the war takes place, and we need men, and we don't just want men anymore. We need them to be involved, and we need them to go kick ass. And we need them to actually take the authority that we remove from them. So that's scenario number one. Number two is guys need to just simply understand that if they're ever going to have authority in this life, it's never going to be given to you. You need to take it. You have to seize it back. You have to get involved, and not just in like education, not just in work, not just in your career, but in politics and religion and every other aspect. One of the things that I always get run up the I get asked about, I want to use that term again. What I get asked about all the time is like, don't you think there need to be more involved fathers? Yeah, but you know what? We need also those adult males to also be involved in the political process, even if it's from the most local level. I'm not saying you got to go run for president, but get your happy ass on the fucking city council at least. Go and represent. Go out there and be the red pill candidate. Go out there and be, if your church has been overrun by women, go get involved, and you want to see change, then go in there and do so. You say, well, they'll just run me out. Well, fine. Don't go there. Start your own shit. Do something different. Because until we start doing, I'm preaching to the choir, I get it, but like, there's no way you're going to be handed back authority. Even in the case of like the asteroid hitting the Earth, that authority will be given back to you, or it'll be expected of you for a while until the asteroid, we recover from the asteroid. And guess what happens after that? Well, we're going to take all that authority right back from you. So we have to have this different mentality about responsibility, authority, and how we're going to affect that. Because women will always talk about how they want a leader in the fucking household. Well, unfortunately, ladies, leadership implies fucking authority. So that guy gets to go and take that authority, and you're not the one that's going, well, we'll just give him a little bit here, have some, we'll allow him to lead in the house. No, you're going to be with the guy who already has that authority and is already going to step up, and he understands that is where that's his responsibility. So it's commensurate with each.
I want to add, it's not leadership. Just to the people, there's, because I think a significant percent, there are people like Fitch who are fathers and they invest their time in their children and they have the balls to say no. Then there's a lot of fathers who are compromised because their wife will leave them or divorce them or all that. And I'm getting really fucking sick and tired of these guys, these cowardly men. We're like, oh my God, it's your goddamn kids. And I don't know about you, but when do you Lester burn them up and say, fuck the marriage and go with the nuclear option? Where it is worse staying married. Your daughter is about to have her tits cut off. Your daughter is about to go live a miserable life. Not to mention what your son's going to turn out to be like either. I'm sick and tired of these guys. You've never been married. You're damn right, because I made sure I didn't get in this compromised position, but you are. And here they are like, oh, what if my wife this and my wife that? I'm like, you're just such cowards and weaklings that you won't divorce your wife? For God's sake, go to town. Go to war. Who cares if you lose everything? It's your damn kid. And I'm thinking, like, until that happens, until he's like, nope, I'm taking the kids. I'm going to war. I'm going to fight tooth and nail. I don't give a crap if you take half my shit. My daughter is not going to turn out into some purple-haired, tatted-up freak. My kid is not going to go to college for some worthless degree. My kid's life is not going to be ruined. And so, I am sympathetic towards, there are men like Fitch and and then you got the rest of society. But at least your daughter or your son has you. But then these these weak, pathetic, she doesn't give me sex, and she kind of got overweight, and we've had our arguments. It's like, you fucking little pussy.
Mark
like
that.
For fuck's sake, like I don't know. I don't have kids, but by God, if anything happened to my nieces and nephews, they're dead. I don't care if it's a teacher. I don't care if it's a cop. I don't care who it is. If anyone were to touch my nieces and nephews, they're dead. Not. Oh well, I think that let the judicial system. No, you're dead. You're fucking dead. And I don't care if I lose everything. And that's not there anymore. And so now I wonder. Okay, are men, a certain segment of them, are you guys more afraid? Is your fear stronger than the love for your children? I always love getting these debates where, why are women fat? Because they love junk food more than they love men. That's what their actions indicate. Yeah, and so I see this subsegment of fathers where it's like, your fear is stronger than your love for your children. Ain't disgusting. You're just disgusting, pathetic men. And the consequences your kids are going to suffer. And so where I'm just like agape is, I look at, like, there's a dad somewhere, no matter what, if they're removed or whatever. And if you found out your daughter at 14 is thinking about getting top surgery, like, I'm very libertarian. Like, hey, when you're 18, you could decide that then. That's fine. But no. And, is that the doctor? I'd have a chat with the doctor. I'm like, boy, I'd be ashamed if your hands didn't work anymore. You wouldn't be able to earn a living cutting off people's boobs anymore. It starts
with the ideology. It starts with the conversation. It starts with the language that we're using. So, like, and I wrote about this, I think, back in 2016 when I first started seeing, like, the idea that children as young as like 3 or 4 years old could understand their gender well enough to decide whether or not they wanted to be a boy or a girl for the rest of their lives at like 4. I think the oldest it was 4 years old. It might have been like 3 at that time. And I'm like, okay, I'm not, I don't have a doctorate. I don't have a master's in psychology. I have, however, taken psychology, child psychology as part of my, my coursework here. And I understand that children do not develop a capacity for abstract thinking until they are much, much older. You know, we're talking 18, 20, 21 years old. And even then, we're still kind of wary of them, right? We have rules. The reason why we don't allow, anyone past or under the age of 18 to vote, well, there's a reason for that. We don't think that they can form the abstract thinking is not quite there. We don't allow people, or at least in the United States, to drive a car until they're 16. Okay. We also don't allow, we have an age of consent. You cannot consent to sex until a certain age, depending on what state you happen to be in. However, we have this idea that after a certain age or before a certain age, then that young person cannot give consent. I use this argument all the time whenever like a female teacher is caught like diddling her, 14-year-old student or something like that. I said that meets the criteria for statutory rape. Okay, well, why is that? Well, because that kid cannot give consent at 14 years old. And when I bring this up, it always comes back to, well, what's the norm? What are we normalizing right now? And for the longest time, really as far back as like at least 2016, in my experience, we have had this conversation and we have used this normalization where we say, okay, a kid who's this old, well, already knows if it's a boy or it's a girl and blah, blah, blah. And it's all it is it comes back again once to emotionalism, to social constructionism, to the blank slate, and all of that. When you see that, when I hear stuff like that, I have to catch people now and I say, you're using the language of the ideological left. You're using the language of the woke right now. Why are you doing that? Catch them in the act of doing that and say, look, words can form. What is it? It's from George Orwell. It's if words can form thought, then thought can. Oh no! If words can corrupt thought, then thought can corrupt words. Or maybe it's vice versa. Anyways, the point is that the language is important. As we keep repeating that same language over and over and over again, then we get to top surgery. Then we get to, I think I'm trans. Then we get to, we have now 20% of kids are identifying as if they're gay or they're
trans.
That's why I was
going to point about Overton's window. Yes,
exactly. Yes. And so it's just going to keep going and going until some. You want to know? I hate to even point this out, but you want to know why a guy like Andrew Tate is so highlighted polarized online is because he stands out as the purple cow in a sea of like brown cows right now. I don't necessarily agree with everything he has to say, and I know Ryan's got some choice words for him as well because he's kind of a hustler and a huckster. Let's just be honest. But his appeal comes from being Han Solo, from being Captain Kirk, from being the guy who stands out. And that's one of you want to know why Dr. Phil wanted me on the show? That's why. They wanted Andrew Tate on there because he's this firebrand and everybody wants to sort of string him up and pillory him. And the reason for that is because he's one dude that's out there that has like been, if nothing else, bold enough to talk shit to the face of woke progressivists. I'm not saying he's a great model, but I had to answer questions on Dr. Phil about, is this guy really who we want raising our teenage boys? And I'm like, that's not the question. The question is this: he's one person, one personality. You should be raising your boys. You should be the focus needs to be coming from the parents. It needs to be coming from, all these other different influences right now. And so, like, again, in Positive Masculinity, I pointed this out. You're not just up against like Andrew Tate. You're up against Instagram, Twitter, Pornhub, your whatever else that video games, marijuana, prescription drugs, whatever. You're up against, and then you're up against whatever they're being taught in school. And as a guy, as a father, you have to be the one who's going to be sort of like the bulwark against all that bullshit, and you have to be brave enough to do that. The problem is in spite of an entire world that is aligned against you, you still have to have the balls to say, fuck you. No, I'm going to raise my kid the way I raise my kid.
100%. Look up the profit for puberty blockers. That's pretty insane as well.
Yep.
Well, there's certainly a financial
that's a big part of all of the trans stuff is the amount of money spent on pharmaceuticals in order to make that shit stick or not stick. It just keeps it up temporarily. Like you don't go through the transition and it's like, I'm done. Now I'm a boy. Now I'm a girl. You have to take massive amounts of pills every day for the rest of your life.
And then the antidepressants kick in.
Hook with it.
Oh, dude, for the male to female transitions, look up the dilation surgery.
Ooh,
That's
no.
a thing that you have to do the rest of your life. If you
Oh
don't
yeah, I
do it
watched
when you're
Libs of
eating.
TikTok, and the girl's talking about how she wasn't explained to her like the amount of effort and energy put into dilating her new vagina. It's like you have to do that every day. It's like, yeah, because it's not natural. It's not supposed to be there. It's trying to close itself up. You have an open wound that you're trying to force to be an open wound forever.
They don't want to, they what they want to do is they want to force fit social constructionism over the machine, over evolutionary biology. They want to say, oh, well, it's, you know, we're all special snowflake individuals and none of us are the same. We're all unique. But the fact of the matter is, if you go, even if you have that gender reassignment, I don't know what the hell to even call Ellen Page anymore, he, her, whatever. The fact of the matter is that her brain architecture is still that of a human female brain architecture. You're not going to get around that. I remember when I was on Pat Campbell, we used to have people that would come in, well, not me personally, but he would have people come in on his show that he would interview who detransitioned, who are going to be, they're going to end up being biological male, and they came back to being biologically female. I guess maybe for females, it's probably a little bit easier to do that. But again, it's like, why, if gender is a social construct, then why do you need surgery? Why do you need hormone blockers? Why not just simply convince yourself that you are what you are, right? Why is any of that necessary?
Well, you can't have
and here's the sad thing that I think is an overall trend that would explain this, because I'm absolutely fascinated with laziness as a human force, because it explains everything. Why we're trying to print off more money again despite it not working. Why we're always pushing for communism, it doesn't work. But more recently, especially with traits, there's been a big push on the left to have people value traits they were born with, or traits that they choose, they make up. It could be your religion. I would also throw in there your gender. Some people are legitimately not straight. I would say the vast majority of younger people who claim not to be straight are faking it just so they have some kind of purpose and value. Mental disorders, I've talked about before, where it's like, oh, I have whatever, autism or all that. It's like, no, you don't. You're just a spoiled little kid. This is not to say that people don't have those disorders or actual genuine traits. But I think this is part of the overall trend where now it's like, oh, I might be trans, or, oh, I might identify as a guy, and now I have my pronoun. In other words, none of these things are like you have to work really hard at like getting a doctorate in physics or anything like that. It's just like, oh, today I decide I'm this. And it's such an easy sell to young kids because they don't want to work. That's all saying. Oh, and already you got the idea of being popular. In our day, it was having Cavaricci pants and Nike high tops. And now it's, go back to Lacey Green's era. Let's go back 10 years ago. Oop, I'm pansexual, or the faux making out lesbian things. This is just now a continuation and acceleration of that. But where I'm shocked at just how pathetic and weak humans are, even if they are teenagers, you're willing to claim you like a different type of genitalia just to be popular. And some of you are going to go so far as to change your pronouns. And beyond that, not only to inconvenience you and everyone around you with that insanity, you're then going to go and get hormone treatment and get surgery on top of it.
You know, the ironic part of that too, Aaron?
What's that?
Is that disorders are actually a social construct. The shit that they keep blaming everything on. Like, literally, people saw Freud and they saw Jung, and it was never really a science. It's always been kind of political.
Never been. Right.
Yeah, it's never been. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. They're officially the authority that decides if you're crazy or not. Now, they've got methods, and sometimes it maps to reality, but it doesn't have to, and it doesn't always. And the part that I love about this is it's usurping the nation. Case in point, the American Psychiatric Association. What do they call it? 10 years ago, they declared men were a disorder.
Yeah, man.
That's it.
Natural, yeah.
Now you have an authority that says that. And what does Canada do? We rubber stamp American authorities. It's like we're not the only country that does that. So some international organization of people who only have authority because one day they just said they had it are now dictating this stuff. And now because there's an authority behind it, people naturally defer to authority. So now, because for all you know, the APA had some man-hating feminist whose dad diddled her in the thing, and now she hates men. She has a beef to pick. She writes some fake-ass paper, and now somebody's daughter is going to get some, like, new dick surgery because of it. It's kind of messed up when you think about it, isn't it? And it's all it's all made-up fantasy. And the worst part is it's not useful, so it's not even a good social construct.
But here's where it is useful. Look at, like, I've always been fascinated.
It thins the herd.
Well, it thins the herd, but I've been fascinated with the homeless, because if you look at people who live in tent cities or live underneath, in truly squalor type of conditions. Oop, hang on, let me get back there. There we go. Paul's in the house. I'm amazed to what lengths humans will go to avoid work. I understand that it was a survival technique back in the olden days. Food was not plentiful or bountiful. And you needed to conserve your calories of energy. But I did not think that people were so afraid of work that they would go and change their gender, that they would go and claim, or that they'd cut their hair and go against their natural biological programming to be male or female.
You get paid to be homeless in San Francisco.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But if you look at to like the homeless, like there are people that they'll suffer cold, they'll suffer heat, they'll suffer uncomfortable. I don't know if you guys ever been homeless or slept in a tent or whatever, but I'm sure Paul and Ryan, you guys being ex-military, you have. It's not fun. But that is the fertile ground by which this is planting roots. But I'm just kind of thinking, like, what does it do for the individual people's psychology? It just ruins it. But if this is where 20% of Zoomers identify as not straight, like, when does this end? And that's what I'm afraid of. It's not because there are not enough fathers to stop this. What did you throw up here, Rolo? What do we got?
Oh, good old Claire.
Who's Claire Lindman?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, a study of over 600,000 adults finds that those who are transgender and gender diverse are 6 times more likely to have a diagnosis of autism than cisgendered adults. I should also point out that the incidence of diagnosing autism since 2000 has risen 178% since year 2000 up to where we're at right now.
Right. And I say that's just designer mental illness.
No one wants to use that stat. That is very unpopular. Like, that could get me into a lot of trouble for maybe get you into a lot of trouble for posting.
Why would that get me in trouble?
Studies are there. I mean, well, it'll get you in trouble because it seems like it's anything that is in any way going against that narrative right now is ruthlessly put down. So, like, you can't even say the word like Transylvania on YouTube these days without like drawing. I mean, maybe not on your channel, but like, if you're on Tim Pool, you sure as shit can't say it.
Well, let me just so I understand it. We cannot talk about transsexual or transsex issues in the context that it also correlates with other mental
anything that would go against that, anything that would in some way marginalize, because they're now a protected class, right? So it goes against terms of service.
So here's what then confuses me. Aren't people who are trans, don't they face a drastic increase in the suicide attempt rate?
And that's the tragedy.
Okay, and I do not. They're your fellow human beings, whatever choices they may have made. Should we not care about that?
We should.
If we actually cared about them, which I kind of do as a fellow human being, should we not have a conversation about that? Not particularly now, but
care about it when you're on camera to get clout.
That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. They don't care about them.
Paul,
they want a virtue signal.
What's going on, Paul? You got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest tragedy really with, people who, and I'm going to say struggle with the transgenderism and, not knowing or being able to, not being sure of what their gender identity is that there's a mental health component there. I mean, you have 40% of them that are, we'll say self-selecting, making a choice they can't reverse after surgeries. You know what I mean? It's not, I use this comparison. Like, if I was like, I really want to be a NBA basketball player, and guys, I'm an NBA basketball. I am the best basketball player. I'm up there with NBA level, right? And I walk around believing that, saying about that about myself. And then other people say to me, yeah, you are. That's right. That's what you are. You're an NBA basketball player. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, we accept you for who you are. And then I get on the court and I get my ass kicked because I'm terrible at basketball, right? Like, the reality at the end of the day, somebody who identifies with a woman who's not, by sex characteristics a woman, still isn't. Do you know what I mean? And there's a psychological component to that has to be addressed for them. It's not a matter of hating them. It's actually a matter of having compassion for them. It's not about their choice either. They can choose whatever they want. It doesn't matter to me what they want to choose. Are they going to be mentally healthy and happy in their choices? That's the question. And a lot of them are not. And pretending that the reasons for them not being mentally okay is because we don't accept them is a farce. It's nonsense. And the only reason why people do that is because they want to pat themselves on the back, you know what I mean, for supporting something, right? For being woke. But meanwhile, these people are struggling in turmoil behind closed doors. And that's the real tragedy of it, is to not address that. Hey, if you're going through this, that's a hard thing to go through. And you need to, address some mental issues with yourself, regardless of what choices you're going to make. Because I don't know, if I was born thinking I was should be a different sex characteristic and a different gender, you know what I mean? That'd be a tough thing to go through, and you need to get something addressed. But if we say that, now all of a sudden I'm a bad person, right? We need to ban my channel.
Well, so Aaron, do you know how many people this affects?
What's that, Ryan?
Do you know how many people this affects?
Oh, we're talking less than 2 or 3% of the population.
No.
But I would say with 20% identifying as not straight.
A percentage of a percentage is even bothered by this, and that's the other thing. It's such like it's a rounding error of a number. And yes, all the stuff we're talking about is true, but people forget that nobody is affected by this. And the ones that are affected by this tend to congregate in large cities with giant media presence. They tend to be online more often.
Yeah.
And so it's completely blown out of proportion. And then it takes everybody's time to talk about this issue. Everybody's so focused on the BPD chicks. Everybody's forgetting that there's like a giant swath of chicks that aren't BPD in the middle.
Yes.
It's like that equivalent.
It's a bias, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you have a bunch of people who are, we could say, gender typical or whatever, that use the issue
normal people,
right? That use the issue.
I'm gonna go on a limb here.
Yeah. But they use this. Well, I don't want to call them normal people because I don't consider woke people very normal in my, you know what I mean? But
they're pricks. There's lots of pricks.
Yeah,
normal pricks.
Normal pricks. But they want to use the issue, for clout, right? I mean, to make themselves feel better. And that's
I'd have to disagree, because if we look at the polling data, 20% of the Zoomers think they're not straight. Or identify. Admittedly, it could be I know, Ryan, I know. They're not like legit, and all that.
They're like wiggers in the 2000s. You just say it because it's cool.
Right.
It pisses off dad.
I'm totally gangsta.
Yeah. But
now it's just I'm really gay. And you're like, okay.
However, this is not a phase. This is not a phase. This isn't like, teehee, that was a phase, and now I'm 17.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm starting to wonder. When does it not become a phase? Now you're going off to college, which is perpetual adolescence until you're in your mid-20s. Do you have people who are like, oh, yeah, even if you're faking it, let's say you fake, like, oh, I'm going to claim to be not straight because it makes me popular or whatever, all right? That's still going to have a psychological, a negative one on you, faking and not being something that you aren't.
Well, what happened to the lugs from the 80s and 90s then? What are they doing now? Remember the lugs, the lesbians until graduation types?
I would say it's different because your dad would kick your ass back in the day. There might have been a slight presence of a father. But right here, right now, and I'm pointing this right at the left in general, they are making it so that everybody, hang on, there we go. They are making it so that the number one thing in your life is a trait that you have so you don't have to work for it. And getting back to what Paul said is where, is it that you are trans, that you have a mental illness, or is it? No, that's not necessarily it. What it is that you're trying to derive value from something that has no value, a trait. I mean, okay, you're gay. Nothing wrong with being gay, but it does nothing spectacular about it either. You need to have some kind of production purpose and value and reason in life. And what we're doing is we're giving pretty much now our third generation, or they're trying to give a third generation of young people, oh, your value is what? Your race, certainly women. That's why women are disproportionately targeted on. It's like, oh my God, you're a woman. That's just amazing. It's like you're half the population. You didn't do anything to earn it. It was the way you were born. But if you teach them that this is the most important thing, and then you're that, and you're set, you're done, you're going to continue going on through life thinking like, oh, yay, woman, yay, me. And then, yeah, you are going to have mental problems. You are going to be depressed because you got nothing else except for the plumbing you were born with. And so I think
but you showed up to the new Marvel movie, though. That's what they need. Keep buying this merch, sir.
Exactly. You watched, you were excited about Flatbutt starring in Captain Marvel. All right.
Gross.
Oh, Brie Larson.
Brie Larson. Like, okay, that really? That's your excitement? It isn't Christmas time coming up and hugging the little kids and watching them write letters to Santa about all the crazy stuff that they want. Like, look at this, he wants a boat. You know, that kind of thing.
Someone is wrong on the internet. I have to correct them.
You don't understand. I have to.
I think, whereas you're right, Ryan, there's less than 1% of people who are a trans, but that's just one of many different traits we're trying to force and make the ultimate point and purpose of people's lives. And if you look at younger people in terms of what's most important to them, it's traits that they were born with or claim to have. And I think that is a recipe for misery, depression, and sadness. Getting back to what Paul said, is like, okay, you're trans, but if that's all you are, yeah. Legit question. Are you legit trans? Or are you faking it because you got nothing else going on in life? And if you're faking it because you got nothing else going on in life, fake it. Well, but even that's really screwed up because no wonder you got a 4 in 10 attempt rate because you're lying and it's not good for you. And so that's where I'm kind of fearing where this is going, culture and society wide speaking.
I missed the first 75% of the show, but my bigger concern when it comes to people's daughters, though, I don't know if you talked about this, I'm sure you did, is just the normal decisions now that girls make to like destroy their lives going forward for their future happiness.
That's pretty much the premise of
okay. That's my bigger concern.
Let me ask one more thing for the panel, then we'll get going here. This is a younger, it's just going to get worse. My prediction is just going to go worse as time goes on because this traitism where our traits are the most important thing ever is just going to be pushed on younger generations. What is this? What kind of ramifications does it have for young men going forward who are looking to date?
Simpson thugs, man. Every guy has no idea what it's like to be a man. They've never had dads teach them. They don't have brothers teach them. And if they stick to like their instincts, they're either going to turn into like thugs and like be hyper masculine, like the Andrew Tate types, or they're going to end up being simps, the all female ally nonsense. And that's why Tate's popular, because all these guys see this hyper masculine wrestling promo caricature of a man. Even Tate doesn't believe his own shit. Yeah. He's drinking whiskey, talking about Islam. Like, fuck out of here. Living rent free in your head. It's like, whatever. But that's what guys are appealing to now. That's why they're talking about Marvel movies, because the closest they had to a father figure was Captain America and Jordan Peterson. And now they're having the problem that the 80s kids had, where my dad was a drunk. Now they're finding out my Jordan Peterson is hooked on diazepam. Yeah, so it's just going to be this constant separation into like two classes of men, like worker bee drones and like the girls who pisses off Pat Stedman by sleeping with his wife, you know, the stamp pickup artists. So all guys have to do is like, you literally have to reinvent the wheel, which sucks. But thank God there's guys like you and Paul here to let them know, like, did you know men used to be normal and functional and well-adjusted? And men were men and women were women and we had sex and it wasn't fucking weird. And they'll be like, oh, this guy's speaking sense. Let's try this thing out.
Tell us another story, Uncle Ryan.
Back in my day, they wanted to impress you, so they put tissue paper into their bras to look bigger.
Oh, wow. Those were the days.
Like, there's going to be a small group of guys who's like, this is insane. I don't feel like being one cartoon character or another, and they'll figure it out. Most guys are just going to become dysfunctional dudes with their dysfunctional wives. Like John was saying, have their dysfunctional kids, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse. And unfortunately, we're too good at making the world safe, so nobody's going to die. The meteor's not going to fall. and we're just gonna have to live in this weird clown world and realize that as long as you try to succeed, everybody else will get out of your way because they're too busy watching Marvel movies and stapling dicks onto themselves. So you're fucking,
which is a good news for those who want to succeed. Quite frankly.
yeah, it's good news for the small group of guys that watch this podcast, the alpha males, you know.
Yeah.
Liquor King is on here. I can't believe it. My heroes.
Get this guy on camera off of me. Get on you guys.
Any other advice for the young men out there going forward?
Oh no, if you know where to find it. You're not going to listen to me.
I do have one thing I'm going to mention. It's just a thing. Is that my bigger concern really for this? Because I feel like if you get on any of the content that we're all putting out here, you're going to do well enough with women, and you can kind of have what you want. I mean, I feel that that's the case. You have to work on it, work on yourself, but that is the way it is. I'm not so worried about that for the dudes. What my bigger concern is the dudes who have daughters. You know what I mean? I have a son, so I don't have a daughter. Thankfully, I feel like that's just hard to do. But I have a lot of friends. I know people who have daughters, and I've had this opportunity weirdly after a couple of videos I'd put out, over a year ago now, where I've coached, 18, 19-year-old girls, which is strange to me, that they would call me up. But and the advice I ended up telling them were stuff that a father figure should tell them, quite frankly. But, they could see these couple of, clients I've had, they could see the trouble in the sexual marketplace and how they're really doomed if they follow the track of what their friends are doing. And they needed some practical advice to just not do that and how to navigate this. And they have their own concerns too, because men are reacting to the way that the marketplace is and the way that women act, and are also not being necessarily dateable and not showing, by and large, you know what I mean? My guys in my group are all dateable men, but guys outside of the normal, right out of that, the normal guys, they're not really, you know what I mean? They don't know how to show up and act like somebody that would be attractive. And the ones that are attractive, they're looking to pump and dump, you know what I mean? Which sets a girl up for failure. It's pretty extreme out there. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, I have for free on my channel, I'll put them in the chat again, 2 videos. If you have daughters, watch those. And that kind of gives you some guidelines. I from my perspective, on how to try to set your daughters up for success in a practical way, not this be a virgin, join the church, stuff like that. I'm sorry, it's just not practical for most people today. You know what I mean?
True.
But there's ways to do that for a woman to navigate so she can maintain her ability to bond and have effective relationship skills when she's older and she's ready for that. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's all I want to say. I'll throw that in the chat here in a minute. But that I think is the most important, is guys who are raising daughters. You know what I mean? We can't do anything about, the chick with 50 notches at 25 who, has borderline personality disorder. Like, we can't do anything about her. But
Paul, I can save her, okay? I can. Let me do this.
Well, Jack can. Call Jack up if you're.
Any other insight for the younger men out there? No, good. All right, let's get out of here. We'll be doing the super chats after this, so if you guys want to stick around, let's quickly go through the panel real quick. Let people know what's going on. Jack, where can people find you?
My channel.
Yeah.
What?
Back on Twitter now.
Yeah, I'm back on Twitter. Seriously, the jokes I had to endure. Jack's worse than Alex Jones.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
let's do this quickly so everyone gets their stuff in.
Cappy needs a nap. My channel is in the chat. Go over there. And I'm back on Twitter at Jack Napier Knows.
There you go. All right, thank you very much. Ryan.
Honestly, book 2 is almost done. It's coming back from the editor this week. Follow on the newsletter. You'll get excerpts from it to see what it's about, see the ideas of frame and what you need to know. The cover just got finished. I'm pretty psyched about this. Now I get to do all the nerdy stuff where I pick like the typographic choices and stuff, Rolo.
Oh boy.
So it's going to be good. You'll have a nice Christmas dinner where you learn why you need frame, and then you can pick up the book after on Boxing Day, and enjoy it. It's not fuck files. It's going to be a denser read. It's a big boy book. And
it's not going to be an all black cover with what, Helvetica New as the
No. I'm not taking Clary's cookie cutter covers.
Hey.
He's a genius. He's a graphic design genius.
Yeah. And that's it. That's it for me. Beyond that, just normal videos, whatever.
Fitch.
Yo, go to jumpfish.net. Check out the sign up for the newsletter. I've got John Fish Knows Nothing tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on the left coast. I'll be watching some fights today, and we'll talk about them tomorrow. So stop through, and yeah, we'll do that.
Cool.
I like the new look, Fitch. I like the Billy Ray Cyrus look. It's very bad.
He looks less homeless.
Overalls.
Oh man, I will be on my show tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, as always. I'm going to dig into a few things on. I'm going to leave Mia Khalifa alone for now. If you saw my midweek, you'll get the joke. I will be probably, I think I'm going to do some comparisons, some like side-by-side comparisons of our good friend Jedediah Bila from back in March of this year to November of this year, because I will be in Miami starting the 5th of December. I'll be there with Mike Sartain. We're making the rounds, going to, well, of course, Fresh and Fit will be on there a few times. I will be on Jedediah Bila's show on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then we will also, Mike and I together will be on Adam Sosnick's show on Thursday, and that's at his regular time of 4 p.m. And then we'll be making the rounds. I'm sure we'll get on with Justin Waller and God knows whoever else, but we're kind of doing a media tour, a press tour. Like we're going to all the people who are like sort of our friendly podcast to sort of announce Access Vegas for, I mean, we're kind of like doing proof of concept right now. I mean, Aaron was part of it. He was actually part of the third. Thank you for coming on, by the way.
It was cool hanging out with Mike.
Everybody loved you on there, man. You were the X factor on that show. But it was a good show. We've done 3 so far. When we get into January, we're going to do them a little bit more regularly. We're doing them bi-monthly right now, so it's 2 like every other week. If we can get it to the point where it's self-sustainable, then we'll do it every week. I don't mind flying down there once a week if that's the case and the demand is there. So that's coming up. And trying to think what else I got going. I think that's probably it for upcoming appearances. I am still working on the hardback version of the first book, and the translations for Spanish are done. I'm just deciding on when to drop them. So that's me.
Cool. Paul.
Hey. Well, just go to apexmindset.net. I got so much crap happening. I will say, redirect you guys to those videos that they're in the chat. I'll put it in like the comment section too. Just, for those of you guys who are raising girls and want to give good advice there, it's for free, but I got a lot of stuff coming up here. My year-long program's ongoing. I got an alpha mindset summit to work on your inner game that's coming up soon. But I mean, it's all, you just get on my newsletter and get on my channel and you'll get all those announcements.
Cool. All right. Well, if you guys want to stick around for the super chats, we got that here. So we'll kind of bang these out. Oh, by the way, subscribe to my channel. I'm at 97,000 guys, 97,000, just 3,000 away. Then I get my plastic trinket.
Oh, it's not plastic.
Oh, I have a new channel dropping this month.
It's aluminum.
What's my channel, Paul?
It's going to be Apex Inner Game. My old channel still be up, but it's just banned.
How is it banned? What, Apex Mindset is banned?
Well, it is shadow ban. Anytime I get it, I'll watch I've showed it in our private chat, but you'll see it. You'll see the algorithms. Like some will start to hit.
Yeah,
they'll cut it off, and it won't show.
Spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't fit the demographic, I guess.
Tai Huando for €5. You may lose your daughter to womanism, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Sheryl Sandberg, probably. Phil Henry for €5. The discovery of the internet by idiots was the singular event that started the decline of society.
Yep, that's in book 4.
Which one's 4? What's the subtitle on that one?
The introduction for religion. I talk almost.
Some good stuff in that one. I got
There's good stuff in all
Red
of them.
Pill Thor.
Oh, and all of them. I like that one though.
If you guys kindly would go and donate to Thor and Missy, his wife, who got in an accident, you can search Thor Missy GoFundMe. That will link, because Thor and Missy are very unique names. They got medical bills because Missy was paralyzed from the neck down, but mercifully is no more. Thor for $10. To the Rule Zero, cause my friends. Skull, you savages. Is anyone here a friend of Thor? Has friends? When did we have friends? Did people make friends with Thor? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Thor's the man, dude. He's a cool guy.
I want to have him on the show. I'd like to have him as a Rule Zero panelist.
Let's get him.
Thor, you want to be?
We all got his contact info, right?
Yeah.
Get on the Women Haters Club, Thor.
Yeah, we'll get him in. We'll bring him into the Twitter.
Yeah, that is.
Ax Hominum. 5 year. We got a lot of Europeans here today. The greatest intergenerational transmission of left-right ideology consists of parents who pass on their liberal orientation to their daughters.
Yep, stat, and that is, by the way, he's quoting research from he's quoting Rolf Dengen, but it's from research that proves that the intergenerational left to right ideology is passed from to primarily daughters right now.
I gotta imagine, is it because the mom is a lefty and the dad is just pussy whipped and right. And then just it
was also part of a research that showed that women, especially on college campuses, are more concerned with like inclusivity and sort of, I guess, gender dynamics and like making egalitarianism, let's just say, at the expense of free speech.
Yeah, no, I no doubt about it. The betrayal, for lack of a better word, where they just abandon their father and hate men, including their own flesh and blood, is. I mean, we could go a whole separate show on that. Yeah. But that's where I'm kind of scared of the future. Not that I wasn't scared of the future before, but I'm like, wow, like your own dad, huh? Just because you'll get some kicks out of it, huh? That'll get you some brownie and woke points. The Blackbird, $10. Cappy, what about having more masculine teachers? They get fired. They'd be immediately purged. I remember substitute teaching. They will not, like, your behavior. If you try to discipline kids, I got called more to the principal's office being a teacher than the kids did. And when I was a kid,
I kept trying to spank the 18-year-olds.
Students are harder than teachers as well. I actually ran it. You guys will see. Hopefully they didn't cut this part out, but that was actually a conversation I had on that daytime talk show that I was on that I can't mention. But they were talking about, we need more teachers in the school. I think it was actually addressing Richard Reeves on that one. And I'm like, okay, great. How are we going to get more? How are you going to incentivize more men to be teachers, to spend like anywhere between 4 to 8 years of their lives so that they can become teachers, so they can earn $46,000, starting salary, maybe $50,000 starting salary, and then run the risk of ever like having all of that investment just be thrown out the window. Yeah, you're working with primarily, 77% of female teachers and staff.
Right. No, you want to talk about hostile work environment to just simply being male, not to mention the policies that are going to be dictated down to you by either the state or the individual school district. Men should not even bother going into a teacher. Women shouldn't bother going into it either.
It's low status and it's low paid. And of course, there's no incentive for it. That's why women are primarily teachers right now, not men.
Yeah. However, this might be difficult, as Roll mentioned before. What are incentives for a guy to do that? None. None whatsoever.
We need to find ways to incentivize it, but it's not going to. You want to know what the solution is? The asteroid.
Dude, guys get laid by being teachers. They'll join up in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even have to offer money. Just make it like a high-status masculine career.
Yep.
Cabragoon Cabulous, $5. They are stupid till they start paying their own bills. Dads, stand stern. Bend, but don't ever fold. Your girls will need it. I would cut them off financially. I mean, you get a job will make you a very responsible, mature individual when you got to support yourself.
Well, like you're saying, don't be an enabler.
Right. Yeah, but getting back to the point I made before about how society's just geared around women, they'll come up with a welfare state. There's plenty of scholarships. There's plenty of assistance. And like, your dad cut you out. He's part of the patriarchy. Wow. It's kind of a losing proposition. Sam Whiskey, $5. Most parents will relinquish their kids to the state. That is true.
More ways than one.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost have to say that's damn near 70% of the parents out there where it's just like, no, they just outsource it. So we're only talking about saving maybe 30%. And then what percent of fathers actually got balls as a, we're talking 15% by the time we whittle it down. Caprigoon Cabulous, $10. You guys don't know how great this podcast is contributing to value society. Dads have to be the mountain of society's storm even when your daughter throws rain herself. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm increasingly happier and happier I've had a vasectomy. It's just kind of like,
Oh, TMI.
Red Hawk, $2 driving back from the pheasant hunt. Be well, gents. That sounds good.
I saw what he got too. He was posting pictures of it.
Was he? Where was he hunting?
I don't know, but he had at least like 4 in hand at the time. So,
oh, that's a good catch. I killed one on my motorcycle one time.
It's a good job.
Nice.
Yeah. Are we caught up? I think we're all caught up. Keep scrolling down. Oh,
here, what'd you say?
Mark Martin, $5, guys. I want to know what your opinion is on Balenciaga.
Give it to him, Ryan.
Oh no, I can't buy my Balenciaga clothing anymore.
All right, Ryan, you're smiling the most.
Yeah. Well, because they
Canceled.
put a bunch of kids into their new ad campaign, and they had some paperwork for like child porn stuff in there and pedophilia, and everybody's freaking out. And I'm like, do you remember when Kiss pissed off parents by like licking out their tongues and looking and singing about the devil? It's more of this shit, and girls have turned into like 1980s Tammy Faye crying on camera, and then they'll still buy their Balenciaga because girls don't give a fuck. They buy wedding rings from like the severed hands of Congolese children. They don't give two shits about these kids.
Ryan, it's Balenciaga. That means ball is my god or something like that.
Oh, dude, linguists on Twitter are losing their fucking mind over that one. That is funny too.
Is this
numerology bros are loving it too?
Yeah.
Is this a brand name or something?
Yeah, it's an Italian brand. It's the one they own like 8 or 9 different luxury brands, and all these chicks are. Remember when guys were like, Gillette doesn't like us, and they're burning their Nike sneakers and shit? It's the girls' version of that. Of Gillette, boys will be boys.
Kiss means kids in service of Satan, knights in Satan's service.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch how gullible people
ruled
are.
under Satan's hand.
Yeah, Kanye's loving it because he gets to get jabs at Kim on this. Like, my bitch ex-wife likes them. She likes the child diddlers. And, Kanye's that's the one thing he's winning on right now, which is pretty cool.
All right, so they had some boiler template kid porn like claws.
It was just like the kids were wearing like a bunch of gimp suity type stuff.
Just disgusting ad campaign.
It's a disgusting ad campaign, but everybody's been nonstop talking about them for like 2 weeks, so it's pretty goddamn good.
What happened to like Little Darlings or what was that one where it's like the little Islam girls were like supposed to be dancing and twerking or something like that on I forget the name of it.
Oh, Cuties.
That's what it was. I don't know what it was, but the like that was supposed to be like evidence of like, oh, they're a Moloch worship. Is it Baal or Moloch now? I don't know. Moloch worshiping, baby eating, devil worshiping, Jeffrey Epstein Island going evil Illuminati cabal, and now this is the latest.
The latest 700 Club.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So, wow, the world's filled with scumbags.
Yeah, well,
it's not though. They're playing scumbags on TV to get your attention, and it's working like a charm. Yeah, it's just like all of it.
Which, by definition, makes them scumbag.
Like, how far are you willing to go kayfabe? Like, how far are you willing to go with that?
What was that
that far?
What was the rapper guy with the satanic sneakers? What the hell?
Oh, Lil Nas.
Lil Nas, man. Like, stay in your lane, Lil Nas. Leave that to the professionals like Slayer and Behemoth. And, I mean, stop appropriating my culture, Lil Nas.
Isn't the guitar player of Slayer like a church-going?
Yeah, he's Catholic.
Yeah,
So it's the Insane Clown Posse. They're like evangelicals.
Blowing it for us.
That's what I don't get, man. They keep going to this trough and like pissing off parents by talking about the devil or talking about pedals, and they fall for it every fucking time. Every time.
Thomas Vanderberg.
These chicks, man. Oh, they're so gullible.
Thomas Vanderberg for $5. It seems like the best thing to do is not have kids unless you can ensure a 2-parent household, which is difficult to ensure in these current times.
Well, ensure you as a good parent household is really it.
All right, now quote, what is it? Idiocracy. Come on, give me the
What is the quote from Idiocracy?
Oh, I mean, the whole premise of idiocracy is that the stupid people breed and the smart people don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sam Whiskey, $5 again. She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus and America too. Oh, that's what's his name? Tom Petty, right?
Yeah, but she's
not a Christian. God.
What is that? That's screamo band.
She's a Christian lady. Oh gosh, that was preem.
Gonna trigger a lot of guys in the chat. That's their exes.
Before you go, I got a new soundbite. Well, my first soundbite I added to this. Digi Nomad for $2. Cappy almost full Hulk Hogan and ripped his shirt. No, I got my pajamas on underneath because I'm sick still.
Such a high value
You
man.
know when it's Hawaiian shirt day, Cappy. I got one for you.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'll wear
I
something
gotta.
live.
It'll be.
Ryan has a whole closet full of that kind of stuff.
They're put away for the winter.
Oh, look at this guy, all organized.
Yeah.
When I get down to Vegas,
I'm gonna put pineapple on my pizza and eat it while I'm on the show.
I'm gonna wear a pineapple shirt, and then people are gonna think I'm a swinger.
I was gonna say.
Stupid. They seen my girlfriend, they'll be hitting me up.
I only got a lot of comments.
More super chats, Cappy.
Yeah, no, I gotta kind of scroll through them.
Well, they paid good money, man. Give them some attention.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
100 Norwegian kroners.
Wow,
That's
that's
from
a lot
Jack's
or
people.
something.
It's conflicting getting flown out to seed women wanting non-jabbed and several STD standard deviations above average. Following one's biological imperative create singles, mothers. Alternative is idiocracy. I'm confused.
It's a lot of big words in that.
That is a dense statement.
I knew idiocracy would be good. Thank you. Everybody drink.
I've always said, hey,
that's your opening line, right?
this guy's getting flown around to impregnate women.
He just opens.
How would you open?
He opens with that on their Tinder, and they're like, oh, they pay for
how would you
it.
open? I am designed to impregnate you.
I'm having
to put forth the human race.
conflicting morals to fly out and seed you. God.
Please breed.
Are you several STD deviations above average? That's my opener.
Oh yeah, fucking! I cannot believe he's on
not
steroids.
just
Could you guys believe that? That veiny, that large.
I was
dick-looking
sad. I
vein
had to
built.
throw away all of my bull testicles I had in the fridge. It's not working.
Man.
There were
All those
people
people
who
eating liver
believed.
now. They just wasted it. We ate all this liver for nothing.
I tore down his poster from my ceiling.
It's like people actually believed he was natty. That's the worst part. There were people who believed it. And it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Mark Martin, $5.
Good
It's not
Lord.
just Tate. They look up to what about the Liver King?
Who's looking at the Liver King?
What's Liver King?
Probably somebody.
That's the
Oh, you
guy.
don't know?
That's
You don't know,
the.
Aaron.
He's a you know what, entrepreneurial. Yeah, give him some.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a smart
Like,
marketer.
he's doing better than I'm doing marketing wise. But
What is he? He like
he
is-
lied
passes his
about
lip?
using gear, and he's
That dude is,
clearly
like,
geared
so
up and yoked. He's really jacked, and uses a bunch of performance enhancing drugs. Obviously, they lied about it, and people believed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
telling people to eat raw liver.
Right, that was
But-
what he did.
Which
He
is
ate
not
liver.
a bad thing, per se.
I love Cooper's
No,
take
it's
on
not.
it, where he saw the guy's regimen. He's like, dude, that's enough for a horse. Are you fucking stupid? I don't care about the natty stuff, but are you trying to kill yourself?
Yeah,
Taekwondo for €2.
Bicep roll-up.
Can't wait from the Frame Force book from Couch.
Oh, it's as good as you think it is, plus some.
Coach.
your last
Couch,
book was
is that
fun. I
another
can't
guy?
wait for this one.
Oh, this one's much more analytical and dense. This is like Rolo wrote this? Like it's there.
Cool.
No
man.
sailor stories, all
No,
action.
Aaron will never read it.
Yeah, they won't read it. Too many. big
Eli
words.
Nope, $2. Objective things are never disagreed with, honestly, as all observers will observe the same objective truth. I wish that
Yeah,
was true.
that
I
would be
wish.
nice.
That would be nice. Fat girls are not pretty. Read.
Oh man.
I mean,
There's my
even
buddy
Freddie
Atham
Mercury
with the super
disagreed.
sticker.
I wish we could show those.
I wish I could too, but they're all insults from Atham. All right, we're caught
dear.
up. That's it.
That's
All right,
us.
sounds good. All right, well, thanks for coming on, guys. Jack, you want to take us out correctly?
Toodles.
Toodles.
Ain't nobody got time for that.